What's going on? Back with another episode of Teslamonial. Today I'm going to be activating the 4 inactive speakers in a 2023 Tesla Model 3. As you probably know, if you're watching this, you've got some inactive speakers. I'm not going to talk about the why, but we're going to talk about how you activate those. Now, I bought this wire harness by a company called Hansshow, and this was one that was recommended by a couple people, and I'm not going to lie, I actually tried a cheaper route last week by buying one off of Amazon that claimed that it would work for a 2021 model, and that might be true, but I can tell you that it did not work on my 2023. So now I spent the extra money and I got the Hansshow model right here, which looks very similar. I've also got the pry tool that it came with and a little flat head screwdriver that it's going to help to separate some of these wire harnesses from the ones inside so that you can plug this in and activate those speakers. Let's get started. First, you're going to want to open up all the doors because we're going to be shutting the vehicle down and disconnecting the low voltage and high voltage. Hit the car icon. You're going to want to scroll down to safety all the way at the bottom and power down the vehicle's screen. Next, we're going to be going to the front and popping off this panel. It's real simple. It's got some tabs. You just work them around and they do pop out. Be careful, but don't be too gentle. Next, you're going to be disconnecting the low voltage battery. Pull up this little green tab, pull this little thing back, pull it up, get it out of the way. Now to disconnect the high voltage, you're going to go to the rear seat. You're going to find this little tab right around here on the seat. Pull it to one side, pull the seat up. Once the seat's up, you can go ahead and pick it up and get this styrofoam block out of the way that covers the high voltage. Now you're going to have to pop off this little connector. It's not that hard to do. It's pretty self-explanatory. I got a terrible angle right here, but there's a tab that you have to lift up and then you yank it off. Just figure it out, why don't you? Now we got to get rid of this little panel right here. Take your little tool, stick it up from the bottom. Go ahead, put it in. It's not that hard to get out. Pop it right off. Now we got to get under the glove box and get rid of these 4 snap connectors. You can use that orange tool that they gave you. Now you should be able to pop off this bottom panel. I took mine off once before, so it was a little easier, but you should just be able to yank down on it. Don't do it too hard because there are some wires connected right there. And let me show you. You're going to have to disconnect some of these wires. Some people disconnect both. I just disconnect this one right here. Not too hard. It's got a little button that you clip in. I forget how long it took me to do this, but you got to disconnect it, all right? Just figure it out. All right, there we go. We got it. And for me, the other one is kind of too much of a pain in the ass to disconnect, so I just stick everything to the side like this. All right, now let's go back over here, and you got to get rid of this little snap connector too. This one was more of a pain in the ass than the others, but basically I got the little fork thing under here, and I popped it out, but then I had to yank it out with some pliers. Right here, I had to take out my floor mat. You might too. Now I got to take out this little panel right here. I kind of just started from the back and started pulling away, using my thumb to get this little rubber trim out of the way. And for the most part, it just started to slip out and wasn't super hard to take out. I just had to kind of grab it from a different angle and voila. And this next white plastic part is actually kind of fragile, so you're going to want to be careful taking it out. You can use something like a bottle opener or a screwdriver, but you want to get under it and pull straight up because it's got these long little tabs underneath it that can break off easy if you don't. I've taken mine out once before, so it was easier for me this time. All right, so we're about to put in the wire harness, so let's familiarize ourselves. I don't know if these connectors have names, but your harness should look like this with these same little connectors. And if it does look just like this, then everything should work out just fine. Now we got to connect everything. And I found that if you can work yourself into this position, this next part is going to be a lot easier. If you can't, I don't know how you're going to do it. Figure it out. So the way I do it is I start by removing this white plug right here that I'm pointing out with the screwdriver. And if you stick your screwdriver in this little tab spot, it'll come out a lot easier if you can pull with your other hand. And really, I just get that one out of the way because there's a black one on top of that that I have to get to that's way harder to get at if that one is still plugged in.
Just want to mention that doing this is difficult enough, and doing it with one hand and a camera is terrible. But here's that black one I'm talking about. I'm trying to point at it with the screwdriver. Once again, stick the tip of the screwdriver into the little tab area and try to find a way to grab the back little wires and yank that baby out. It's going to suck, but eventually you're going to be able to get that little black one out, and you'll have both of them out just like this. Now grab your wire harness. There's a spot on the wire harness that's going to be able to plug over the black one. Only one of them fits. Study the cable. Make sure all the grooves line up the right way. It'll snap right into place. Now take the opposite end of that wire harness that you plugged into the black one, and you're going to have to plug it back into the spot that the black one was plugged into. That's what I'm doing right here. Obviously very hard to film. And then you're going to have to take that first white plug that we unplugged and plug it back in now that you've got everything else plugged in where it's supposed to be. Snap it in all the way. Next, you're going to be looking for this wire harness with a little white dot and the black bracket around it. It's ridiculous if you've never done it before. But after a ton of trial and error, I found out that if you stick your thumb with your left hand in that little slot and you pull back with your pointer finger, put it in that position and then yank it straight out, it should come right out like that. Now it's time to take your wire harness and grab the big parts, and you're going to line up these grooves right here on your wire harness with the plug that came from the car. And there's only one way to do it. Shouldn't be able to mess it up. Clip them, squeeze them together, and then put the little black thing in. I know this was a terrible angle. I'm doing this all with one hand. I'm sorry. But cinch it together, snap it in. It'll work. Now take the little black bracket on the wire harness, roll it back a little bit, and it's going to have to plug itself right back into that same spot that you unplugged the other one. Once again, filming this with one hand and doing everything with one hand was ridiculous. I hope you appreciate the effort. Go ahead and make sure that the grooves are lined up, press it as far in as possible, and then snap that little black thing in. Should work. There you go. Next, we got to pull up the trim by the passenger seat towards the back right here to expose a couple other little wire harnesses. And this thing has a hard time staying up on its own, so it helps if you stick something in there to keep it open. I put a beer bottle. Once again, going to use the flathead screwdriver to stick it in the little tab area on this white wire harness plug, and then I'm going to lightly pull the wires from behind while I'm doing that, and it should pop out. Looks like it did. This is another one that you're just getting out of the way because we're really getting after that blue one down there. Same strategy, come after it with the flathead screwdriver, push down that little tab, pull the wires, and it should come out relatively easy, still a pain. Now we got to take the other end of the wire harness, pay attention to the grooves. We're putting it into the slot that the blue one was in. So that's the one beneath. Put it all the way in and make sure that it fits and clicks into place. And then you got to connect this part right here to the other end that you unplugged, the blue one, once again. Then you got to reconnect that first little white plug that was above the blue one that you unplugged, snap it into place. And we're all plugged in, so now we're going to test everything. Go back to your high voltage and reconnect that little latch right there. Plug it in, snap down the little gray lever, and just prop it up with this little styrofoam block. Go back to your low voltage connector and grab it and snap it back into place. Slide the black thing back and then push the little green tab down. At this point, you can hop in the car, just put your foot on the brake and everything should turn on, and voila.
Moment of truth. I think it's working. Hold up. So here's my little microphone. I mean, I already know it's working, really. So we got this one. This one. Car's freaking out on me. My seatbelt's not on. Let's see. I think it's working now.
Well, it works, so we got to put everything back together. Pay attention to the letters on this thing. There is one way that it has to go and only one way. But if you do it the right way, it should go in pretty easy. You got to put that fat wire on the top. Make sure that it goes in through the track. And we're going to hide all the wires once we've got this all the way in place. I was able to take all the excess wire and run it underneath the rubber trim. Basically just by picking it up with my fingers and kind of folding all the wires into this little pocket right here. Worked out just fine. Takes a little bit, but I'm confident you're going to figure it out just fine. All these wires you can take and zip tie or just stick them there and the panel will hold it in place. When you put the panel back on, make sure that you don't put this wire inside because you're going to need it. And then just use your finger and kind of grab the rubber trim, run it all along the side. It shouldn't take you very long and everything will go in flush and clean. Then we got to get the big snap connector and put it in this little hole right here. I found it easier to take them apart and then put in the little base first and then take the little screw part and snap it in. Not too hard. Once you do that, you got to bring out this little plate. There is one specific way to do it. You'll see this little hook on the bottom. It's got to go hook side down in. I think it's easier to put it over the rubber trim first and push it in and then take your finger and get the rubber trim to go on the outside of it once it's already snapped into place. Now we got to reconnect this little wire. I couldn't do it with one hand while filming, but just plug it into the spot where it's supposed to go. You know what to do. Now you got to put all those snap connectors back, so I found it easier to do it like this. Once again, this works for me. It's probably not going to work for everybody. That little panel has to go in a specific way, but you'll figure it out. Put all your little snap connectors in, and you're pretty much done. Now you just got to put your back seat in place. Sometimes you got to like run the seat belts through, but this little white connector, there's a little tab. It's got to go in there. Now you can go back to the front and just put this little panel on. Make sure that all the snaps are lined up right before you start smashing in and you're going to break something.
Well, we got it done, and I'm so happy because really I hated doing that, but I hope that this video gives you some confidence that it can be done, and I hope that my video makes it easier for you than it was for me the first time that I had to do this trying to guess how to do it through random Chinese videos on the internet. And was it worth it in the end? For me, yes, but only mildly. So far, there's really just a slight difference of audio. I'm a bit of an audiophile. I can definitely hear the extra high end, but for me, this was more a matter of principle. I wanted to make sure that I had those speakers working. I just felt kind of cheated that they were in my car, but I couldn't use them. But I know for sure that I'm not going to be satisfied with the audio in the Tesla until I install an aftermarket sub. I don't know what I'm going to use. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I'm going to figure it out soon, and I'm going to shoot a video. So I thank you for watching this video. I hope it gave you some confidence to tackle the job yourself, and if you do watch my video and you do install this yourself, let me know in the comments. That'll put a smile on my face. Once again, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.